It was Saturday morning, November 29th, when the entire world realized something was terribly wrong inside FCI Fort Dix. 3 days had passed, and yet the internet was still shaking, still exploding, still frozen on one moment, one leak, one forbidden glimpse from behind the prison walls. It all began on November 23rd, when TMZ suddenly posted the kind of footage no one expected to ever see. Sean Diddy Combs, not in court, not in handcuffs, but inside the restricted media library of a federal prison. The clip was short, barely 30 seconds, but the impact hit like an earthquake. There he was, wearing a gray sweatsuit and a knit cap, moving casually between shelves, adjusting his jacket, looking completely at ease in a place where he was never supposed to be alone. No guards beside him, no escort, no restraints, and no audio at all, which made the moment feel even more unsettling, like the silence was hiding a secret no one could decode. People didn't just watch the video, they studied it, they zoomed in, they slowed it down, they replayed the part where he reached for his jacket, they analyzed the background shelves, they circled his movements, they asked the same question over and over. How was he there? How did he get in? And the more people watched, the worse the questions got. Because this wasn't a hallway, this wasn't a yard, this was the media library, a supervised, restricted zone, usually controlled by staff, the kind of place an inmate like Diddy should never access casually, and never without an escort. The moment the clip dropped, chaos followed. TikTok lit up with breakdowns. Twitter/X filled with conspiracies. YouTube commentators went live for emergency discussions. And TMZ's headline only poured gasoline on the fire. First video leak from inside Fort Dix. Diddy seen unsupervised. But before we dive deeper into how this single leaked video set off a chain of events that would destroy Diddy's entire future, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss any breaking updates like this. Now let's continue. Because what happened next turned a suspicious clip into a full-blown national scandal. The first video raised eyebrows. The second video raised alarms. But this first one, this quiet moment inside the media library, was the spark. Viewers began pointing out every detail, the way the shelves were arranged, the angle the camera was held from, the fact that the recording was steady, not shaky, almost like the person filming was comfortable, confident, close. More than one former inmate said openly, "This looks like someone on the inside filmed it, someone he knew." And that idea spread like wildfire. If Diddy could stand there unbothered, changing jackets in peace, then something was not just wrong, it was broken. The public didn't know it yet, but this short clip marked the beginning of a storm that would rip through the prison, shake the federal system, drag the judge back into the spotlight, and eventually force the court to deliver the most extreme sentence possible. And all of it started with that first quiet moment. A jacket, a room, a camera, and one man who thought nobody was watching. The shock from the first leak hadn't even settled when the second blow landed, harder, louder, and far more damaging. It was Monday, November 24th. People were still dissecting every frame of the media library clip when TMZ suddenly dropped another video. And this one didn't just raise questions, it screamed them. The second clip was filmed in the Chapel Washer Library corridor, one of the quieter, more controlled spaces inside Fort Dix. The video opened with Diddy walking calmly down the hallway, wearing the same gray sweatsuit and knit cap. But something was different this time. Not the clothes, not the lighting, but him, his energy. He wasn't neutral, he wasn't quiet, he wasn't stressed. He was smiling. A small smile at first, then a brief laugh. A natural, relaxed expression, like he wasn't behind bars at all, but walking through a familiar, comfortable place. And that was the moment the internet stopped breathing for a second. Because high-profile inmates don't walk around like that. Not freely, not without a guard, not inside restricted corridors. Then came the part that set social media on fire. Diddy slowed down, looked over his shoulder, stepped into a dim corner, and leaned towards someone just out of frame. The camera didn't catch the person, only Diddy's posture, the angle of his head, the subtle movement of his hands. but it was enough to make millions of people scream the same thing. Who is he talking to? There was no audio, just like the first video. Only silence. Silence that made the interaction even more suspicious. Silence that made viewers feel like they were watching something forbidden, something not meant to be seen. Within minutes, the video flooded TikTok. People zoomed in on the shadows. Others brightened the clip until the walls looked white. Some slowed it down to 0.25x speed, trying to catch even the outline of the mystery figure. Speculation exploded. Was that a guard? Another inmate? A volunteer? A smuggler? A staff member? Nobody knew. Nobody could tell. And the fact that no voice, no clarification, no sound existed made everything feel darker, more secretive, more dangerous. Hate comments poured in. Outrage raged. People demanded answers from the prison because now it looked like Diddy wasn't just walking around freely. He was having secret meetings. And once that idea took hold, the story stopped being about a leaked clip. It became a scandal, a crisis, a direct attack on the federal system. Every news outlet began reporting the same thing. Second video leak raises serious questions about Diddy's privileges inside prison. Page 6 wrote, "Why is Diddy seen laughing in restricted area?" The Economic Times said, "Second footage confirms suspicious movement of Sean Combs." YouTube and TikTok filled with conspiracy theories. Former federal inmates posted videos saying, "This should never happen." And the reaction wasn't just online anymore. This video shook the prison, it shook the staff, it shook the judge, it shook the entire justice system. Because the moment Diddy stepped into that dark corner, the narrative shifted from strange footage to something much bigger. Diddy is receiving special treatment. Someone is helping him. That idea spread faster than any official could stop it. And the pressure was building. Pressure that would soon reach the judge. Pressure that would force the court to act. Pressure that would turn this case from complicated to catastrophic. And that second leaked clip, the smile, the secret meeting, the silence, became the match that lit the fire Diddy couldn't outrun. For the next 3 days, the internet did the one thing it does better than any investigator, any journalist, any federal agency. It obsessed, nonstop, relentlessly, until the leaked prison clips of Sean Diddy Combs became the biggest scandal in the country. It didn't matter what time it was, morning, afternoon, midnight. People were glued to their screens, replaying those silent 30 seconds like they were watching evidence from a high-profile crime scene. On TikTok, creators circled every frame, adding red arrows and zooming into the smallest shadows. YouTube commentators uploaded hour-long breakdowns, freezing the footage to study the grainy corners. Twitter/X threads stretched into hundreds of comments, each person pitching their own theory about who Diddy met, how he moved so freely, and why the prison seemed powerless to stop him. For 72 hours straight, the conversation didn't slow down. Not for a second. One hashtag stayed trending the entire time. Hashtag Diddy Prison Leak. Everywhere you looked, someone was talking about it. People questioned how a man with a strict, restricted routine could walk into the media library like he owned the place. Others questioned why he was smiling in a facility known for tight discipline. And almost everyone questioned the secret meeting in the corner. News outlets picked up the heat instantly. Page 6 ran a headline, "Diddy seen roaming prison hall unsupervised." Business Insider wrote, "Leaked footage sparks investigation at Fort Dix." The Economic Times labeled it, "The first ever prison clip of Diddy causes uproar." Every major outlet added fuel to the fire. Every headline increased the pressure. Every breakdown made the story bigger. But while the internet speculated, the prison burned from the inside. Fort Dix officers were blindsided. They hadn't been warned the videos would hit the media. They hadn't expected something this explosive. And the public reaction didn't just embarrass the prison. It put a spotlight on every guard, every supervisor, every internal rule. Suddenly, every officer with access to the library corridor was being questioned. Security logs were pulled, scrutinized, analyzed. Supervisors whispered about corruption, smuggling, unauthorized access. Some staff were terrified, others were angry. All of them were under suspicion. And meanwhile, the internet kept asking the same brutal question. Is Diddy getting special treatment? Every hour that passed without an explanation made the situation worse. Former inmates jumped in, saying things like, "This is impossible unless the prison let him." Someone inside recorded this. He has access no regular inmate gets. And that made the story explode even further. The public started doubting the entire justice system, not just Fort Dix, not just the guards, but the court itself, the judge, the original sentence, everything connected to the case. Some people asked why Diddy had been given 50 months in the first place if he could walk around like a staff member. Others demanded a new hearing, a new punishment, a new sentence. The online anger became a storm, loud, relentless, impossible to ignore. And the judge felt it. Every headline had his name in it. Every news panel debated his decisions. Every comment section attacked the fairness of the court. By the night of November 27th, one thing became clear. This wasn't a social media trend anymore. This wasn't a meme. This wasn't even a scandal. This had become a full national crisis, a direct attack on the integrity of the federal system. A moment too big, too loud, too explosive to sweep under the rug. And all the noise, all the pressure, all the screams for accountability were about to lead to one reality. The court would have to respond. The judge would have to act. Diddy would have to face consequences greater than anything he had imagined. The storm was here, and it was just getting started. Inside FCUI Fort Dix, the air changed long before any official announcement did. Guards walked faster. Supervisors spoke in hushed tones. Doors slammed harder. Radios buzzed nonstop. Everyone knew the leaked videos had caused a shockwave outside. But now the real panic was happening inside the prison walls. Because when the public starts asking dangerous questions, the system starts looking for someone to blame. By the afternoon of November 25th, the warden had already called 3 emergency meetings. Not optional, not scheduled, mandatory. The kind of meetings where people sit stiff, eyes forward, knowing careers can end with a single sentence. And the message was clear. We did not authorize these videos. Someone inside the prison filmed them. Find out who. That was the moment everything shifted from confusion to crisis. The media library logs were pulled first, then the chapel hallway logs, then escort records, then camera access sheets, then staff phone registries. Every officer who worked between November 22nd and 24th was questioned. Every corridor camera was reviewed frame by frame. Every possible angle was examined. Who filmed Diddy changing jackets? Who followed him down the hallway? Who had a clear shot of that secret corner meeting? And most importantly, why was he able to move there at all? The silence inside the prison was louder than any siren. Officers kept their eyes down. Staff whispered theories in bathrooms and storage rooms. Some blamed new recruits. Others blamed older staff. A few wondered if an inmate had managed to smuggle a hidden phone into the facility. But the most dangerous suspicion was this. What if someone helped Diddy get there? What if he did have privileges? What if a guard escorted him quietly? What if someone opened those doors for him? That fear spread like wildfire. And if the prison staff were panicking, the administration at the Bureau of Prisons was drowning. Phone calls poured in from Washington, from federal investigators, from oversight offices. Everyone wanted answers, fast, clean, believable answers. There were none. Meanwhile, outside the prison, the media pressure on Judge Arun Subramanian became brutal. News outlets played the clips on repeat. Analysts called the situation a complete collapse of security. Commentators asked if the judge's original 50-month sentence was too soft. Some even accused him of overtrusting the system. He saw his name trending for reasons he never wanted. He saw headlines questioning his judgment. He saw the public demanding action from him directly. Inside his office, he replayed the clips again and again. Diddy changing jackets, Diddy laughing down the hallway. Diddy slipping into the shadows for a secret meeting. No guards and no restraints, no protocol. It was a visual betrayal of everything the court believed it had imposed. And the timing made it even worse. Just weeks after previous violations. Just days after disciplinary extensions. Now this? The judge realized instantly that this wasn't something he could ignore. Not something he could postpone. Not something he could hide behind paperwork. The public wasn't asking for clarification. They were demanding consequences. And the judge knew one thing with absolute certainty. If he didn't act, the system would fall under the weight of this scandal. That's why on November 28th, late at night, the emergency order went out. Inmate Sean Combs must be transported to SDNY court on Saturday, November 29th. Emergency hearing. Case reopened. Inside the prison, guards exchanged heavy looks. Even they knew emergency hearings on Saturdays don't happen without something explosive behind them. This wasn't a routine update. This wasn't a procedural check. This was something life-changing. As the order spread through the halls of Fort Dix, one truth echoed in every corner of the prison. The leaked videos weren't just a scandal. They were a direct threat to the entire justice system. And now the judge was preparing his answer, one that would go far beyond anything Diddy expected. The morning of Saturday, November 29th, didn't feel like a normal prison morning. It felt like the start of something catastrophic. Even before sunrise, there was movement, heavy movement. Officers walked with urgency, marshals gathered in formation, and transport vans lined up outside the gates like an armored convoy preparing for a high-risk operation. Because today wasn't a routine court appearance. Today was a response to the leaks, to the outrage, to the national pressure crushing the justice system. When guards approached Diddy's cell, he already sensed it. His posture stiffened. His eyes were swollen from a night without sleep. For the first time since entering Fort Dix, the silence around him felt different. Not disciplinary, not routine. Final. The door opened. Cuffs went on. Chains tightened around his waist and ankles. He didn't fight. He didn't speak. He didn't even lift his head. Every step he took through the hallway echoed like a countdown. Other inmates pressed their faces to the windows, watching with a mix of curiosity, shock, and disbelief. They whispered to each other, "He's finished. This is bad. They don't call court on Saturdays unless it's serious." Outside, the cold November wind hit him immediately, but he barely reacted. He was guided into the transport van, surrounded by armed marshals, locked in with reinforced doors, shielded windows, and a strict escort protocol usually reserved for the most dangerous inmates. The drive to Manhattan felt longer than it was. Diddy stared at the floor, barely blinking, his mind replaying the footage that started all of this. His hands adjusting a jacket, his smile in the hallway, the whisper-like moment in the corner. Nothing seemed serious when it happened. Nothing felt dangerous. But now those seconds felt like daggers carving into his future. When the transport arrived at SDNY court, the scene outside was a media battlefield. Cameras flashed like lightning. Reporters shouted his name. News channels went live, narrating every second as marshals formed a protective shield around him. Diddy has arrived. Emergency hearing underway. Sentence reconsidered after leaked footage. Inside the courthouse, everything moved with cold precision. Elevators locked, hallways cleared, security tripled. Diddy was marched quietly into the courtroom, feet chained, wrists bound, shoulders lowered, as though he already knew what was waiting for him. The room felt colder than the outside air. Prosecutors sat stiffly at their table, folders organized into thick stacks. Prison officials were present too, their faces tense, visibly shaken by how fast things had spiraled. Court reporters positioned themselves, ready to document every breath. And then the door behind the bench opened. Judge Arun Subramanian stepped in, expression unreadable, eyes stern, movements deliberate. He didn't glance at the press. He didn't look at the prosecutors. His gaze went straight to Diddy, who remained frozen at the defense table, staring at the polished wood like it was the edge of a cliff. What followed wasn't loud. It wasn't aggressive. It wasn't emotional. It was cold, controlled, calculated. The judge spoke with a calmness that felt more dangerous than shouting ever could. Mr. Combs, we are here today because the integrity of your confinement has been called into question. The courtroom leaned forward. The leaked videos showing your presence in restricted areas, unsupervised, in unauthorized contact, have created a national controversy. These actions undermine the sentence imposed by this court. Diddy's hands trembled. His breathing became uneven. His throat tightened as he tried to process each word. The judge lifted the printed frames from the footage. Diddy changing his jacket, Diddy laughing, Diddy leaning into a shadowy corner. The images felt like evidence in a case far bigger than Diddy imagined. Your movements, as captured on video, are inconsistent with the restrictions mandated by your sentence. The public has raised serious concerns. The Bureau of Prisons cannot explain the breach, and therefore this court must address the matter immediately. Diddy closed his eyes. He knew. He felt it. The moment was here, the one that would decide everything. What the judge said next wouldn't just change his day, it would change his life forever. The judge didn't rush. He didn't speak quickly. He didn't deliver his decision like someone reacting to pressure. He delivered it like someone carrying the weight of an entire system on his shoulders. Slow, controlled, deliberate, and that made every word feel heavier than the last. He looked directly at Diddy, who sat trembling, his head lowered, his breath shallow, the chains around his wrists shaking softly. The silence in the room grew thick, suffocating, as though everyone inside was holding in the same breath, waiting for impact. "Mr. Combs," the judge began, his voice steady, "the evidence presented to this court is deeply troubling." He lifted the printed photos again, the media library moment, the corridor smile, the secret corner meeting, and placed them neatly in front of him. These leaked videos, filmed on November 23rd and November 24th, show unauthorized movement, unrestricted access, and contact without supervision. These are not minor incidents. These are serious breaches of your confinement. Diddy's chin quivered. His eyes reddened. His fingers tightened around the edge of the table. The judge continued, "This court has reviewed the footage repeatedly. The Bureau of Prisons confirms the videos were not authorized. The public, the media, and legal analysts across the nation have raised concerns about the legitimacy of your confinement. The trust in this court's original sentencing has been severely damaged." A murmur passed through the back of the courtroom. Reporters shifting, typing, whispering, but the judge kept going, unfazed. When an inmate's behavior creates doubt in the integrity of his sentence, when the public loses faith in the justice system, when a breach of this magnitude occurs, the court must act. Diddy lifted his head slowly, eyes glassy, lips trembling as he tried to speak, but no sound came out. He knew this wasn't going to end with a warning. He felt the decision forming in the judge's voice long before the words were spoken. "And therefore," the judge said, pausing as if to give the room one last second of air before taking it away, "this court finds that the previously imposed sentence of 50 months is no longer appropriate." The courtroom froze. Prosecutors straightened. Journalists leaned forward. Diddy's body went still, almost numb. The judge lowered his tone. Firm, cold, irreversible. "Effective immediately, your sentence is hereby increased to life imprisonment." A loud gasp burst from someone in the back. A woman covered her mouth. A reporter whispered, "Oh my God." Even the prosecutors, prepared for this, exchanged stunned looks at how direct the ruling was. But Diddy didn't gasp. He didn't blink. He didn't even inhale. He just broke. His knees buckled and the marshals on each side grabbed him before he collapsed completely. His face crumpled in raw disbelief. The kind that comes when a single sentence rewrites the rest of your life. The judge wasn't finished. Given the severity of the security breach, the public pressure, and the concerning nature of the footage, the defendant will not be granted appeal rights. This ruling is final. Diddy choked on a breath, unable to steady himself. Tears streamed down his face, dripping onto the chain wrapped around his waist. His chest rose and fell in tight, shaky bursts. The reality was sinking in faster than he could process it. A life sentence. No appeal. Case closed. The judge closed the file with a soft but devastating thud. "This court is adjourned." A marshal's voice echoed immediately. "Stand the inmate." But Diddy couldn't stand. His legs refused to hold him. His body collapsed again, and two marshals lifted him under the arms, guiding him toward the exit like a man whose world had just ended. Reporters scrambled. Cameras clicked like rapid fire. The courtroom buzzed with shock as Diddy, shaking, defeated, was dragged toward the heavy wooden doors. He didn't look back. He couldn't. He didn't have the strength. Because in that moment, Sean Diddy Combs wasn't the music mogul, wasn't the celebrity, wasn't the billionaire. He was a man who had just watched a silent video turn into a life sentence, a man whose future had been erased by two leaked clips and one final, devastating ruling.